In other words, like a barrier was removed. It wasn't me floundering around blindly trying to paint this thing or trying to understand what I was doing. It was a discussion with the painting that was arriving and appearing. It was a dialogue.
Channeling it? Do you feel like it was just sort of flowing through you and coming out of your hand?
Uh,
Beautiful piece of.
yeah, exactly. It was more like a dialogue than, hazy trying to figure things out. The haze was sort of gone.
Hi everyone, I am Julie Edmonds, your host of Channeled, tapping into the wisdom of your soul. Hi everyone, welcome back to Channeled, tapping into the wisdom of your soul. And I am honored to have a lovely guest today, Marjorie Kaye. And she is a visionary artist, a sculptor, and she works and blends geometry, energy into this beautiful organic flow. As the founder of Galatea Fine Art and the recipient of multiple art grants, she's known for turning intuition into stunning visual language. Marjorie, super excited to have you. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I love the artwork that's behind you. So, can you
Thank
tell us a
you.
little bit about that? I know that's your art.
Yeah, this is the first of the larger pieces that I started doing in watercolor brush pen. I have traditionally worked in gouache, which is like a very thick watercolor, opaque watercolor, on wood, on panel, or sometimes I cut shapes. But I tried some of these watercolor brush pens, and honestly, I got so addicted to them and hooked on them, I can't put them down,
So this is
literally. And
so this is watercolor.
this is watercolor brush pen, which is a little bit different than dipping, into watercolor. It's sort of done for you. And today, I'm actually expecting a shipment of 168 more colors,
Oh, wow. You're like me. When you get into something, you get into something.
like a pit bull.
I like it. So, Marjorie, can you tell us a little bit about your journey? Because I know when we discussed earlier, when you're talking about painting, it's not just let me, paint by number type of thing. You sort of channel these works of art. You feel them, you hear them, you see them, you dream about them. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about how you got into the art world.
Well, ever since I could, I don't know, I manifested as a human being.
Yeah.
I've been into art. And when I was in high school, I had a very, very influential teacher who changed the whole map for me. His name was Arnold Trackman. I don't paint like him, but understanding that art is a 24-hour job, 7 days a week, um, and understanding that it had a meaning deeper than just making, stuff, and that it went really into the core of who you are,
Oh,
was
I
a
felt that
very
when you said that.
important step in my direction. And then I went to Syracuse and got my BFA. And I think, we get our instruction, it becomes our vehicle for our expression, but we do spend time not breaking it down, but gleaning through what we've learned, and finding your own voice, your own depth, your own reality as an artist took me a little time, but I think it's a lifelong process.
I agree
Every
with you,
time.
but let's stop right there for a second. So, finding your way, finding your process, was there a moment in time, maybe when you were younger, that you were sort of working with different modalities or different types of art, and then something just like, wow, this speaks to me?
Yeah.
Does it change over time as well, or is it just
Yeah.
something that you really tapped into and then it just,
Yeah. I remember working on a painting when I was in college, and my professor, his name is Gerald, happened to be milling around. And I was working on this thing and I made something I didn't like. And he said, well, too bad it's there. You have to work with it now. And it was like, boom, all of a sudden that painting and myself became sort of one entity,
oh,
you
wow.
know. Yeah. And I've had several of those moments along the way, but that was sort of the defining push. Even though it had nothing to do with what I'm doing now, actually, that's not really true if you look hard enough. Um,
But what does that feel like? You said just for, for our listeners who are, starting art or you were one with that painting. Can you
right,
describe a little bit more about what that
right.
is or how that feels?
In other words, like a barrier was removed. It wasn't me floundering around blindly trying to paint this thing or trying to understand what I was doing. It was more like a discussion with the painting that was arriving and appearing. It was a
Do you feel like you were
dialogue.
channeling it? Do you feel like it was just sort of flowing through you and coming out of your hand?
Yeah,
Beautiful piece of.
yeah, exactly. It was more like a dialogue than,
Wow.
hazy trying to figure things out. The haze was sort of gone.
Yeah. People can use that same feeling and that art with just dance, with journaling, with writing, and even with just their day-to-day work. Like, let's say you're not an artist or you don't tap into that, but you have other things that you love. I still feel like that's something that you can channel and bring. And can you speak a little bit about that? Because I know with your
Absolutely.
work, you just like it just seems to like flow through you, right? Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Well, yeah, but it's like a similar thing that if you're taking a walk in nature, for instance, and something hits you, and you're having this interchange with what's around you. It's not something that is flat and two-dimensional or one-dimensional. It becomes, a source of awe, and doing art has the same kind of feeling.
Do you have
If
a feeling in your body? Is there parts of your
uh,
body, your chakras, anything, your thought?
yeah, yeah, it does flow through all of this. And when I think I take it for granted too. It hasn't, I mean, I've fought hard, if that's the right terminology, to be able to work without judgment, without, oh, this, self-judgment, judgment, um, letting the mind intervene with what's happening. I mean, it's been a lifelong process of letting go and letting what is your own truth come through you, no matter what the consequences are,
That is
and there are
so
consequences.
powerful what you just said. That lifelong letting go. It sounds like you freed yourself of some limiting beliefs, maybe other people's voices,
Yeah.
fear of judgment, fear of rejection. Was there
Oh, yeah.
certain processes that you went through to be able to just become this authentic artist, just flowing from your divine self and not worrying about the outcome and just letting it just be this creative soul inspiration? Was there something that you did in your life to help get to that place?
Love, love of it, love of it. When you can't wait to do something, when you dream of it, think about it all the time. And when you're doing it and it's just a place of groundedness and, you know, then nobody can tell you that you shouldn't be doing it. Or, that's the way I feel. It's like,
Nobody needs
it,
to give you permission to do
no,
something.
no. And there are consequences. I mean, if you're not in a certain trend, in the art world, and you're not focusing on what the art world is telling you is relevant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I mean, it's not easy.
Right.
It's not
Well, it sounds
easy,
like
but
you're saying there's certain rules. Obviously, you want to follow the
oh yeah,
trends and that, but when you just sort of go with your own soul's desire, it sounds like it's bringing a lot of joy.
It's, to me, when people say to me, when artists say to me, maybe I should change what I'm doing because I'm not selling, or maybe I should change what I'm doing because I keep getting rejected from galleries or blah, blah, blah. I'm saying, become a banker, do something else, you know? I don't mean it, but I'm saying, if you should be doing what you're doing. And there's something that's on a different, excuse me, level than selling. Or when I first opened Galatea Fine Art, the first person who said to me, I really want to sell my work, I was like horrified. I mean, I shouldn't be because, everybody wants to sell their work, but I was like, but what else? What else? What? So, call me naive or something, because I think I kind of am, but
No, no, no. I think, you're tapping into something important because I think when we try to control the outcome or we try to do something that's not in alignment with who we are just for something that's just not there. I don't know what I mean by that is it sounds like when you tap into the flow, then there's the joy there. Like maybe it's not bringing you the income in the moment, but I'm an expert in sales, and like at the end of the day, it's just like you just have to see enough people to find your buyers, right?
that's,
And put it in front of
yeah,
enough people, and the right people will come. But if you change
right.
who you are to please other people, it's never going to work.
Well, people make that huge mistake of lowballing the prices on their work, in Boston. I mean, I'll do a sliding scale in the right place for people, like I did that at a place called Wild Soul River here in the Berkshires. And, it was very much appreciated by people and I was able to sell some work. But, in Boston, I'm probably not going to do a sliding scale. Why not? Because
Know your audience, right?
people,
Know your audience.
yeah, right. But exactly, but people will lowball their work thinking, oh, it'll jump right off the wall. And, as a salesperson, that's not necessarily true because the buyer's going to think, well, you don't value what you're doing that much, or nobody else values what you're doing that much if
Yeah.
they're priced so low, which is so stupid. But,
Well, I think
that's
that's
the way
from
the art
fear,
world is.
right? It's from fear and feeling not good enough, or maybe their work isn't worthy and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
And that's all like life's work. So you can do the
right.
art, but when you get rid of the limiting beliefs that are stopping you and blocking you from or feeling the worthiness, when you
Yeah,
start to feel that worthiness, right? So, and it
right.
sounds like you went through that process.
You have to eliminate yourself from the equation. You have to eliminate your ego from the equation. You have to, is this going to sell? Is anybody going to like it? And I'm not saying I'm completely free from that, but I'm doing a pretty good job of it. It's sort of like lower mind stuff that I can just acknowledge and let go. Whereas my higher mind knows, that why do it otherwise? I
Yeah.
mean, you're given a gift, this gift from the universe. It's speaking through you, no matter what you are as an artist. There are a lot of people who do very social, important social commentary, and I am like in awe of those people, and because something is speaking through them.
Yeah.
My work happens is, very cosmic, spiritual and
Well, I
everything.
have a question for you now that you mentioned that, Marjorie. Do you feel like your work is um form of healing?
A form of healing. Yeah,
Tell me more.
yeah. I think that color resonates, shape, form. I did 25 years of mandala forms. All of things resonate with a frequency. So what comes out is self-healing, but it also, it tends to make people feel happy, or heal. I had somebody make a comment on my work on social media that the beauty of the last piece I did healed him. thank you, he said. I'm like, you're welcome.
Wow.
Because, and it's not just, I think all art is like that. You're looking at a beautiful landscape or something. I happen to love landscapes. You look at it's just something goes so deep into the core of you. With my work, it's sort of fractal, breaking down shape into its minute form, its atomic form, past atomics, fractal form. And I think that the energy and the resonating does affect us, I mean it on a very deep level.
Would you describe
And
it as like an algorithm almost?
yeah, yeah. And I can't seem to shake it, nor do I want to shake it. It's just something that continues to pour through me. The breaking down of shapes as minute as I can get. Minute are us.
I have a
So,
question for you. Okay,
yep.
so it sounds like you work like really richly with geometry and flow. So you have your shapes, your colors. How do you begin a piece?
I have a blank piece of paper these days, watercolor paper. I've just upgraded to a really nice thick watercolor paper. And I have what's called a color erase pencil. It's a colored pencil with an eraser on it. And I start drawing out the shapes. And I think, as an artist, that's the really important time. We can't let anything come between you and what you're doing, because that's, for me, drawing out the initial shapes really depends on, I hope you don't hear that in the background. Good. Depends on my accepting and inviting the flow, and not judging. Part of
Oh,
me will
okay,
go, well,
wait,
you
hold on.
always make.
Let's stop. Let's repeat that. Okay, so you just sort of welcome what's coming through. So do you have a piece in mind, but then it just sort of becomes something else? Or is it just
Yeah, oh,
blank and you
always.
just go?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything in mind. Well, yes, I do actually. I have something in mind for my next one. But, what I have to do is stop you always make that shape. Why are you making it again?
Oh, your mind.
Yeah, yeah. You make that all the time. Are you still interested in that shape? All these lower mind things that start chattering in my ear. Who cares?
How do you get rid of it? How do you get rid of that distraction and override
Because
that?
who cares? Because if that's what I want to do, that's what I'm going to do.
Got it.
To do otherwise would be, kind of slapping the cosmos in the face. I don't care whether I do it all the time or not. And, people say, oh, I always use those colors. Oh, I wish I could make more, different, because it's who you are.
So detachment from the outcome,
Yeah,
detachment from other people's opinions, and detachment from your lower mind thinking, and
yeah,
just go and
yeah,
let's let the beauty flow.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. Because it's who we are. Our artwork is a reflection of ourselves.
I have a question for you too, Goodwin. What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is blue violet, the type that they make into glass,
Ooh.
that deep blue violet. And the irony is that I very rarely use a lot of it. I use mostly warm colors with touches, as you can see in this thing,
Mhm.
touches of cool colors. But that deep blue violet, I can
What does it
feel it
mean to you?
right.
You feel it. What does it mean to you? It has a meaning or a feeling or something. You said you feel it.
It's a healing color. It's a it's a place where I live.
Wow.
Yeah.
I,
What's
I tend to
yours?
love those beautiful colors too. Those blues, those periwinkles, those
Yeah.
deep deep royal blue and golds. Those are
Yeah.
my favorite.
Yeah. Periwinkle is another color that it's just so astonishing.
I think so too.
It's a rare color.
So I can you give some advice to emerging artists that,
Yeah, yeah. Um, do it because you love it, and anything else doesn't matter. Anything else doesn't matter. Yes, hone your craft. Yes, learn how to draw. Yes, it's important to be able to, do, I might say, realistic things, or to, be able to draft, to use your mind to be able to break down the surface, do as much as you can to hone that craft. But then at the end of the day, it's all yours. It's all yours. It's nobody else's. It's a place in your life that no one can touch.
wow. Do you have a practical, um, like a practical practice or something that you do daily that gets you into this state of mind?
I tend to break down the day into getting everything that I have to, getting everything that I have to do done so that I can free up my mind to do my work.
How do you
Right.
free up your mind? A lot of people don't know how to do that.
For me, it's getting anything that's distracting me out of the way. My money making work, as much as I like it, it's like if I could not work another day in my life, I would be very pleased. But it's okay. It's all right. We have to do what we gotta do, right? Um, so to me, it's getting everything else out of the way, making that call to get my car fixed, making, appointments here, appointments there.
So you're talking about all the little things that could be distracting you or talking to you or need to get done, the
Yeah,
to-do list, get it out of the way so that you have
get
no
it?
distractions and you can
Yeah.
now, what if people are just procrastinating? Like, I want to get to it, but I have this to do, and then I have that to, and you just start making stuff up so that you're just kind
Yeah.
of pushing the work aside.
Well, all right, what you do is just do the things that you think you have to do. And maybe if there are things that you really don't have to do, but you're doing to uh, navigate away from the work, from your art, to be aware of that. And once you're aware of that, it's like, did you ever see the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Mhm.
Remember that scene when Hal, the computer, keeps him out of the module and he can't get back in? And he's like, Hal, open the pod bay doors. Open the pod bay doors, Hal. It's sort of like that. So you're sort of in between this world where you can't get to your work. You have to go through the pod bay doors, and manually open that door and get back in the spacecraft. You just have to push yourself through it.
That is a great analogy. I
Yeah,
love that. That is so good. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. Tell me a little bit about the Galatea Fine Arts that you founded. It's a large artist-run gallery. You're featuring
yeah,
over 39 artists. Tell me a little bit more about how you founded that and you're in Boston, that's in Boston. Tell me a little bit more about that.
yeah. Well, I was living in Cambridge at the time with my then partner, who we're still friends, and wondering, talking about opening a gallery because as artists, we want to show, and what better way is there to make your own gallery and show your work? And we had both been in an art walk, and the real estate developers for the SoWa, which is south of Washington Street in Boston's art and design district, had at the time in 2009 a lot of openings, and he was trying to fill them. And we asked him, do we, initially look for a studio? And those were all taken. He says, what about a retail space? And I'm like, kind of scared, but I'm like, okay. And I went down and I took a look at them. And I was determined to take a smaller space, start small. But my partner, who, was who he is, said, take the larger space, take the larger one. I'm like, oh my God. Well, I put out a call for artists to see if it would be feasible, and I had over 100 people respond. This was in 2009, so I was able to cull through that list of people I thought were, working in the same direction. And so he did all the build out, and I started this gallery, and it was
So did the artist just show up? It sounds like.
yeah, but it was a cooperative. So that takes the heat off of having to sell because everybody pays dues and contributes to the well-being of the gallery because
What's
it's
the,
their
can
gallery.
you tell us what's the address of your, if someone's in Boston?
It's 460B Harrison Avenue in Boston, number B6. It's in a sort of a basement area with a lot of other galleries and what it's the whole area is teeming with galleries, so it's a good place to go. They also have an open market on Sundays that draw a lot of people in.
Oh, that's
So I am no longer running the gallery. I semi-retired, and it naturally, like a child, you can't tell it what to be or who to, you sort of let it grow on its own, and it's changed quite a bit. But they do have a very efficient board of directors, and it's still doing really well and thriving. And I do show there, but I'm no longer carrying the burden. So,
that's awesome.
yeah,
Great.
yeah.
What do you typically sell your artwork? Do you have price points? How do you price out your art?
It's not easy. It's everybody's, the bane of their existence is trying to figure out prices for their work. It really, it depends on the market. Um, I put so much work into this, you know. I did a sliding scale at the Wild Soul River. I have some smaller pieces that I'm able to price lower because I have a show up right now here in North Adams at Future Labs Gallery. And I was able to price them lower because they're smaller and they didn't take all that as long to do. So that's how I do it. How long did it take me to do it? What goes into it? And I'll price anything from $150 to 6,000, 7, 8, depends on the size of it and the scope of the time involved. But
Wow.
I think, and you can bang your head against the wall saying, oh, if I, but it just doesn't seem to make a difference. There are people who will pay the high price and there are people who won't. There are people, who are able to buy them at a smaller discount. And I'll let you in on a secret. If I know somebody wants a piece and they say, I could never afford that, I'll work with them. I'll work with them and I will cut my prices in half because I would rather somebody have it because they love it than have it build up in my studio.
Yeah. Have
So,
you ever sold a piece and you're like, ooh, I really wanted to keep that, but I have to let it go?
no, I tend to, there's only one piece I want to hang on to, but if somebody bought it, I would let it go. But I feel like I work sort of, again, 2001. Remember the scene when all the graphics were like, and he's going, it's sort of moving through space and time. I finished this piece, it's, here, and then I'm working on this piece. Somebody wants to buy this piece. I have no problem letting it go.
Good. So tell me a
Yeah.
little bit of, I see on your website, marjoriekayart.com, and we'll put that in the comments below it. But you have all different things, drawing, painting, star clusters, wave futurism, relief sculpture. What's relief sculpture?
Relief sculpture is sculpture in which it's on the wall and it comes out from the wall. Sculpture that isn't relief is an independent entity of the wall.
Oh,
Yeah, like the Venus de Milo.
right.
But relief sculpture and it started the ancient Greeks carving into probably even before then, carving into something on the wall. That's how it started. But if it's hanging on the wall and it's dimensional, it's relief.
Got it. And tell us about your star clusters.
the star clusters came about because I was doing other work and that had a lot of different components to it. And I found what compelled me the most was that maybe a little area in which I started doing this algorithm that was part of a larger piece
Do you think
that
there was
had
a little
other
sacred
shading.
geometry in there, though?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. But it's so intuitive, I don't even know what it means. I have no idea. I'm so far away from being a mathematician. And I've always admired the way math people who are mathematicians see the world in its makeup, through I can't even imagine, but what I do is intuitive mathematics, I guess. Um, but I was always compelled by all those areas, even if they were like sort of vines or flower forms or strange, undulating shapes here and there. There would always be like a little area that was strict and mathematical. And
Wow.
I found myself being, I'm so compelled by this. Why don't I start doing that? So I cut out a piece of plywood in a shape, and all the points radiate from the center, and then a circle is built in, and then bisected, and then another circle, and then that's bisected. I,
It sounds like it just sort of forms itself. It's like when I'm writing books, like the characters just knock on the door and walk right in. I was like, where did you
oh,
come
I
from?
love
But let's
that.
introduce you.
Wonderful. It just where it comes from is, I think we're coming from the same source. It's just a different expression.
100%, people
Yeah,
like once you tap into that, and you allow that flow, life becomes more joyous. Do you have a favorite piece of artwork that you've done over the years?
I do. And it's rather large. It's like 24 by 36, and it's done on a gouache panel. And I knew some people who had just had a baby, and that I'm an astrologer too, and that baby is like has a huge stellium in Aquarius. It's just
Wow.
yeah. And I was like, I did this piece and named it for him, and it's my favorite piece.
Nice. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, yeah.
So what is so you're into astrology. What's your zodiac sign? And does that come into your work?
I'm Aquarius. No big surprise. But I wonder if it does. I think, to me, our astrological makeup is part of who we are. So our work is going to reflect that. It's like a map. The astrological chart is a map of our of ourselves, of our incarnations.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've studied that a lot, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, but there are so many new developments in astrology, like asteroids, and it's so much to learn. And I'm a real Luddite, I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm beginning to get interested in asteroids, but it's a lot of information. That is
Yeah.
a lot of information. We know just the basic surface, of what's going on,
Oh,
I
but there's
think.
so much information out there on so many
I
things that we haven't even tapped into
I
yet.
know.
Do you have any outside artists that influence you or, who's influenced your work besides, I know you've mentioned a couple of professors and
Yeah, but people used to ask me that, and I would be sort of dumbfounded because, I know my professors have really influenced me. But who are the people whose work influence, is on that, And when I started sculpting, I found that there were a lot of sculptors, and a lot of them are women sculptors that were working sort of in an earthbound tradition, like Ursula von Reining's garb, She does these giant cedar sculptures, and you should see her work. I mean, she needs help with other people helping her because there's so much to do.
It's a
And she,
big,
they're huge and they're so monumental and they're so kinetic and so textural and it's almost as if they are that they came about naturally, you know, that it's almost like a tree grows and so does one of her sculptures, you know, like
wow.
there's no, yeah,
It
there's no,
probably does. I mean, I get inspired by these giant works of art, like when there's graffiti around a wall. I mean, like you're so close to it. How are you able to like see this big picture
I
when you're
know.
so zoned in? And I think that's how people do with their goals as well, like this big vision. You create the vision based, and then you're so focused in. Like how are you able to see that big vision?
Kind of like crop circles.
That's interesting that you say that, but yes, okay.
When I lived in New York City back in the early 80s, the graffiti just, yeah, there was a real spiritual resonance to it. And it was before people did it for profit. You know, it was just everywhere. And it was, you know, human beings that might have been marginalized in one way or another saying, I am here, we are here, you
Yeah.
know? And it was so moving to me.
Well, I'm always impressed because, for me, I'm not I have artists, that paint and sculpt in my family, but I'm a paint
Huh?
by numbers type of person. My art comes through writing and
Yeah,
and novels and things like that. And, but what I find fascinating is your process is very similar. And, what you do with your art and who you are is just it's the same in any form. Like when I write, I channel, I think about those things, I let it flow, and those are the best moments. And I feel
yeah,
like when people dance or even just being an entrepreneur and running a business, same
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Yeah, it's not, I mean, reflection is a really wonderful thing and it's part of make what makes us spiritual beings. But to walk in, say when you're writing and you walk into your storyline, somebody walks in, you know, like you said, a character walks in. I love that. It's like you're procreating. You're joining with, your characters and you're not saying, gee, should I do the no, you don't I'm sure you don't spend much time judging it or,
No, I
getting
allow it in. I'm like, okay, why are you here? Who are you? And why do we, tell me your story and let's go.
yeah, yeah. It's sort of like riding a horse, I think, you get on that horse's back, you're not going to, spend too much time asking why. You let it ride,
I
you know.
get it.
We're
So
not
the name of my podcast is Channeled, Tapping into the Wisdom of Your Soul. It's been so lovely, Marjorie, to have you. And if the listeners here, you love it, please subscribe, come back for more. Marjorie, could you please let us know where we can find you?
My website is www.marjoriekart.com. I've got an Instagram page, which
Can
I
you spell
believe is
that?
at,
Spell Marjorie Kate Art.
oh yeah, that would help.
Mhm.
MarjorieKayeArt.com. And then my Instagram is, I've got a lot of work on there too, K@K.Marjorie. And if you're in the Berkshires area, my work is up at Future Labs Gallery, wonderful cooperative here in North Adams on 43 Eagle Street until Sunday. And Sunday night is our closing reception. So,
Excellent. Well, it was so
yeah,
lovely having you. Wonderful. So, and for all the listeners here, we'll definitely put her information in underneath there. You can tap in on my Instagram, click on hers. We'll see her beautiful work of art. And it's just been lovely having you, Marjorie. Thank you for your time. Thank
amazing
you
to
for your,
talk to you. I'm really happy to have done this. Thank you so much.
you're absolutely welcome. Thank you.